I understand we have
Matt Podgorski?
Yes, your special guest is here.
So Matt, if we see your whiteboard there, if you hear us, Matt Podgorski. So for the first time tonight, Vallas, Paul Vallas has fallen behind Brandon Johnson by about 3,800 votes. What's your sense of things?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There's no sugarcoating it. It doesn't look great for Paul Vallas right now, with only 10% of the precincts not reporting, plus the uncounted vote by mail. It's not mathematically over yet. There is always the outside possibility that a good chunk of those 10% precincts that aren't reported are coming from the 41st and the 19th wards, where Paul Vallas is running 70 to 80%. But barring some statistical anomaly like that, it's not looking great. In fact, I think the last dump we had of votes, Brandon picked up, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 votes, which means it must have come from areas where he's doing much stronger. So, yeah, it's not looking great if you're Paul Vallas right now. Crazier things have happened. Nobody should concede the race at this point, but yeah, it's not looking great.
So you think that there won't be it's likely not to be a concession tonight, although you'd have no way of knowing that. But would you, if you were talking to Paul Vallas, would you advise him to hang in there till all the votes are counted?
Yeah, I'd probably hang in there and at least wait till tomorrow and get an idea from the Board of Elections of an estimate of how many ballots still haven't been processed. Because as we mentioned, this number is 48,000 is an estimate. So it's hard to say. And, I just had to make one small point. I was watching your guys' program, and I heard a spokesman for Brandon Johnson, the senator,
Senator
talking
Peters,
about
one of his most outspoken cheerleaders.
We need to bring everybody together, and Brandon Johnson does that. And then he was insulting conservatives and Paul Vallas after the polls have already closed. Not a very good start if he's going to be a spokesman of the Johnson campaign of this being a moment of healing, because I'm one of those conservatives who lives in Chicago who he's talking about. So I don't feel warm and welcome right now at all from that senator. So not a great start. I think you should realize the campaign's over. There's no more undecided voters, and start focusing on public service.
So let me ask you, Matt, that on that whiteboard behind you, there was that number that we started a couple hours ago, 90 minutes ago. You pointed to how Vallas would have liked to have a lead of 19,000 and change. Unfortunately for him, he's about 3,800 in the hole right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, this thing is obviously not going to happen right now. I went back and recalculated what a better case scenario would be for these 48,000 votes, and that's if let's say there's only 35,000 votes that'll come back, and maybe he'll only lose them 55-45 or 60-40, and then he'll only need to be up by 4,000 or 5,000 votes. But he's trailing right now, so he really needs this last 10% of precincts to come in from really, really strong areas like 19th Ward and 41st Ward.
Yeah. And I want to get back to what you just said, because it was very powerful. And Mike and I were speaking about this earlier. You don't run into many people who say, this is who I voted for. And, it's mostly, this is who I voted for. And if they don't win, that's it. The city's going to, in a handbasket. I mean, so we have people that are very strong about who they voted for, a lot of support for each candidate. And it is going to be hard, I think, that unification process moving forward, regardless of who wins at this point.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's like elections are one thing, right? You sort of get a pass politically on things you say and do during campaigns, right or wrong. But when the polls close, it comes down to remembering that you're serving the public. You're a public servant. You're not a dictator. And I really hope if Brandon Johnson wins, or whoever ends up winning, and all these 26 majority aldermen, remember that this is still a democracy, and you have to represent all the people. And that means you're representing the Green Party, the Republican Party, the Democrats, the Independents, and even those folks we talked about, Mike and Natalie, who don't vote. You represent everybody. And so just because, the 41st Ward didn't go for you, Brandon Johnson, you still have to treat the 41st Ward like you would your own personal ward in your own backyard. So hopefully they'll remember that. We're all Chicagoans, and and we're all Americans.
Yeah, you would ask that of anyone. What do you think Brandon Johnson's, at this point, Brandon Johnson's campaign did right? I know you touched on this about an hour and a half ago, but let's talk about it again. What do you think they did right? Now, of course, he had the built-in support from the teachers union, but what else do you think helped him?
I think it was as simple as they turned a moderate Democrat into a far right-wing Republican. I think this city has become so progressive that if you're a moderate Democrat, you can make the case that they're actually a conservative Republican and don't share Chicago values. I think they hit them hard, and I don't think it was totally fair, but negative advertising works, and I think enough of it stuck to where it chipped away enough at the white vote from Paul Vallas. Paul Vallas will have ended up winning the white vote only by about 10% when he really needed it to win it by more like 15 or 20%. So I think it was just the negative advertising, the constant pounding on him about social issues and party affiliation and all that other divisive stuff.
So let me ask you, Matt. I know that we talked about not making a call here, not pushing you to make a call. I know you talk sometimes to another consultant, a young man I quoted a few minutes ago, Frank Calabrese. He tells me, he texted me a few minutes ago, Brandon Johnson wins. Your thoughts about people making that call?
Yeah, I mean, you can, right? You can extrapolate and do that. I wouldn't recommend making the call yet because we do have assumptions around what this number is and what the breaking is either way. I don't think it's super risky to make that call. I just definitely wouldn't do that yet. There's just too many votes uncounted and too many unknowns at this point. But Frank's a smart guy. He's usually pretty good with this analysis, but I just think it's a little bit premature.
All right. Thanks very much. Let's